Hey guys, Elliot here. Glad to have you here for another true crime case. I discuss solved and unsolved cases. If this might be of interest to you, welcome. You've come into the right place. I decided to pick a more old case, which occurred in the 1990s. A case which still to this day has to be solved. Despite 34 long years, and chances are that putting into the spotlight may help investigators find a solution to this puzzling case. For those wondering, this is another American case. There are plenty of them, unfortunately, but I hope to be able to highlight as many cases as possible. This is the case of the Jacobs family. Let's take a step backwards into the beginning of the 1990s. 1991 to be more spot. In January 1991, when winter was in full swing, a gruesome killing rocked the city of Sacramento, California, a growing city back in the 1990s. A bad choice could have cost the lives of three innocent people. That's unfathomable. People were fearful the killer could strike again in the neighborhood. What is sad about this case is that it has been quite overlooked almost from the very start. The protagonists of our story were the father, Michael, known by many as Mick, his wife Marcy, and their 9-year-old daughter Jennifer. The Jacobs left the year 1990 past their shoulders, eager for an oncoming year on the horizon. Christmas and the New Year's Eve had passed, and a new year had come, plentiful in hopes and plans. Plans that sadly would never come to light. I was able to find some information related to the whereabouts of the family directly from a press release in 2018. Sticking to what was disclosed by Attorney General Becerra and Sacramento Police Chief Hahn, Marcy Jacobs worked as a staff services analyst with the California Department of Justice, while Michael Jacobs as a contractor and carpenter for Fargo Construction in Sacramento. What is known about their daughter Jennifer, also named Jenny, is that she was in the 4th grade at Crocker Riverside Elementary School in Sacramento. I was astonished when I had acknowledged that Marcy was attending night classes to become a crime scene investigator. I have no doubts that she would have been great at her job. A docuseries named Real Monsters was released a few years ago, with a few episodes, and, by family and friends' accounts, Marcy was a soft-spoken, outgoing person. They weren't super close during childhood, up to their teenage years. Eventually, Marcy and Mickey got married in 1988. Jennifer, who was 9 at the time of the tragedy, was described as an outgoing and sweet little girl. On January the 14th, 1991, the Jacobs family had their lives stolen from them forever. Let's break down the story together by baby steps. What we do know is that that day, Marcy Jacobs didn't show up at work, plus phone calls to the home went unanswered, and of course her co-workers knew that this behavior was out of character for her, so a welfare check was requested. No one knew where she might be, but sadly the worst was about to come. Police officers were dispatched to the Jacobs house. The scene officers were met with was so unimaginable gruesome that in fact it was later named Sacramento's Charles Manson case. I decided not to provide too many details because some of you might be sensitive, but what was found inside the Jacobs home was very brutal. A bloody scene that would impress police officers' minds. Marcy Jacobs' co-workers at the State Department of Justice discovered the bodies inside the home. Marcy had been stabbed and shot in a doorway. The 31-year-old fought desperately for her life. This is what the evidence suggested on scene. She had apparently been shot in the living room, ran to the bathroom and tried to cover herself with her door, but it was too late. As far as the little Jennifer, she was found lifeless too, this time in a back bedroom, shot. At first, police couldn't locate Mick, but once they reached the closed garage, that's when they found him, near an open safe, which was almost empty. Mick Jacobs had been shot multiple times in the head. It was surmised by police officers that the crime had taken place the night before, so on January 13, 1991. Neighbors were shaken and rocked by the brutal killing. Phyllis Clark, one of the neighbors on Robertson Way, who had been living there for 31 years, said that they couldn't sleep at night. She was next to what was the Jacobs home. In addition to that, she went on to say that she, quote, wouldn't live in the house if they gave it to me, unquote. Imagine how fearful the neighbors close to the family might have felt, with possibly more than one murderer on the loose, still to identify and put behind bars. That's not all, because even the Jacobs relatives couldn't scratch their heads over what had occurred. Michael's mom, Evelyn Jacobs, explained she had learned to live with a constant ache she couldn't get rid of. She said, quote, "It's very difficult to explain how I feel to anybody. It's a nightmare," unquote. As I always say, I'm just at a loss of words for family and relatives of a loved one whose life is being unfairly cut short. No one should by any means experience such a tragic loss. I feel so bad for them. The Jacobs home was located close to the intersection of Robertson Way and Santa Buena Way in Sacramento, a quiet and very peaceful area where it would be odd for a crime to take place. After the killing, the house was auctioned by Wells Fargo Bank, as no one picked up payments on the loan the Jacobs had taken out to buy it. We're talking about a very violent and horrific crime in this case, but neighbors highlighted they didn't hear anything out of the ordinary. No gunshots at all. How is this possible? It wasn't just one gunshot, but multiple. An entire family gunned down on a cold winter night. Both Mick and Marcy's bodies underwent a toxicology examination, and according to the toxicology report, they had a substance detected in their blood. I'm not supposed to tell which substance due to this platform's strict rules. Not only did police get wind of this fact, but one of Michael's longtime friends, Richard Michael McCarthy, had suspiciously gone missing with no trace from Sacramento on October the 23rd, 1990, roughly 2 months before the Jacobs killing. McCarthy had vanished just a week after his release from the Yolo County Jail, where he had spent 4 long months for possession of substances and carrying a concealed weapon. He was arrested in West Sacramento on June 14th, 1989. At the time, police seized more than $3,300 from this man. McCarthy subsequently pleaded guilty to possessing substance and weapons violation. Even when he was arrested, he had substance in his blood. From what I was able to gather, he was involved with some illegal activities. Maybe this friendship between Mick Jacobs and Ricky McCarthy could in part provide a rationale as to what had happened on January the 14th, 1991. It is worth mentioning that Ricky McCarthy was a drug dealer, and just before his arrest, he had asked many friends, Mick Jacobs included, to keep some of his belongings, one of which was a large safe Mick decided to store in his garage. A bad decision, some of you would say. According to a friend's account, inside the safe were items like guns, some weird knives, jewelry, money, and even drugs. At this point, some of you might tell me that Mick shouldn't have agreed to hold the safe at home, also being mindful of the fact he had a young daughter to protect. Well, honestly, I have no clues as to why Mike Jacobs accepted, We are talking about a safe which contained, of course, illegal items, so definitely not a wise choice. He endangered his family, there's no denial about that. At the same time, though, maybe he was thoroughly convinced that there was nothing wrong about that, just a favor for a childhood friend. To me, it all revolved around the content of the safe. Chances are McCarthy could have revealed where the safe was kept in, and due to this fact, someone might have killed him. This is what detectives surmised, but his body was never found. If police were able to uncover what occurred to Ricky McCarthy, this would lead them directly to the people responsible for the Jacobs murders. Personally, I don't think he may be still alive, a pretty unlikely scenario, considering also that he had a daughter named Melissa, who has been living with her father out of the picture for many decades. She has zero clues as to what happened to him. When Melissa was 3, her parents divorced, so she went to live with her grandparents. From the beginning, officers knew this was a challenging case to deal with. For instance, because there were no witnesses and a variety of possible motives, and they used all resources they had at their disposal to collect material found at the crime scene. We should also take into account the fact that technology wasn't as advanced as nowadays either. On the flip side, despite the advancements in DNA testing, investigators were unable to link evidence from the crime scene to the persons of interest. Over the years, they have hypothesized that at the heart of this brutal killing may be more than one culprit. They couldn't explain the bloody scene as murder-suicide, because no weapons were found. Furthermore, something worth mentioning is that the Jacobs probably knew their killers. Maybe they let them inside of the household. A good reason to believe this theory is because Jennifer Jacobs, the daughter, was killed when she was sleeping, suggesting that the killers may not be perfect strangers to them. Why kill a baby girl? Maybe because she knew who the killer was. DNA was obtained at the scene, and all the DNA was sent out for testing, but unfortunately it all came back negative for any hints in the DNA system police were using. The almost empty safe was recovered at the crime scene at the Jacobs, and inside some items investigators didn't completely disclose the content of. It's likely that these remaining items could be more easily addressed, so that's why they weren't left there. I would be very curious to know what was inside of this safe, but unfortunately I wasn't able to find anything useful in that sense. No one has ever been publicly named as a person of interest in the killings of Mick, Marcy, and Ricky. In 1992, just a year after the Jacobs brutal murders, an article was published in the Sacramento Bee. A sighting emerged. About a week before the murders, a neighbor saw a pickup truck with 2 men in front of the Jacobs house. The truck was described as a brand new looking, black full-size truck with chrome hubcaps and a white-topped box in the bed. The passenger was described as 6 feet and roughly 170 pounds, with brown medium-length hair and a brown beard. It was a relevant sighting investigators had to keep an eye on, and in fact, over the years, it was disclosed that one of the persons of interest could have a connection to the black vehicle reported by the neighbor in the article. 3 decades passed with still no arrest made, and a bunch of questions to be addressed. As said previously, a challenging case for investigators, with plenty of pieces still to fit in this huge puzzle. In 2018, California Attorney General Xavier Becerra and Sacramento Police Chief Daniel Hahn disclosed a new $50,000 reward in the brutal 1991 murders of California Department of Justice employee Marcy Jacobs, her husband Michael Jacobs, and their 9-year-old daughter Jenny. The aim is to seek information from the public, leading to the arrest and prosecution of the people or person responsible. Authorities have pursued those held responsible for the killings for years. In the height of recent developments in high-profile cases in California, investigators hope to bring answers and justice to the Jacobs. The following year, 2019, a docuseries named Real Monsters was featured on Jacobs by ABC 10. Many people joined the series, including family members like Mick's sister Mary and friends. Detectives expressed their thoughts about the case, exposing some insights about lines of inquiries. Based on the sense that I had watching it, it seems like there's still hope to solve this murder case. When there's only one suspect, it is harder to get some answers, but especially when more than one is involved. At a certain point, people start to crack and talk. It's never too late to bring justice, even after that long. If you possess information on the Jacobs family murders that may contribute to the identification of suspect or suspects, please contact the Sacramento Police Department at 916-264-5471. That's the end of the video, guys. I would like to hear your own opinions about this case, so let me know in the comment section below. My intuition on this tragic and sad case is that due to a bad decision made, 3 innocent lives were cut short. It's hard to state what should and shouldn't be done about it. It's too late to make choices. What matters at this stage, after 34 long years, is who is the culprit, or better, who are the culprits to this nefarious case. Hopefully this video can shed a light on this case and finally the answers everyone has been waiting for so long will come. See you in the next episode, guys, and until then, stay safe and stay aware.